Well, this'll be an interesting video. As I mentioned in my update video way back in January, I needed a break, so I straight up didn't review new releases this year. Outside of a handful of exceptions, my opinions on 2020's music has mostly been kept to myself. Admit it. It was kinda nice, wasn't it? Not having to hear my awful takes month after month, week after week. Come on, even I'm willing to admit it. But seriously, this was a thing I genuinely had to do. Channel metrics be damned. I had burned myself out so bad that even the simple act of trying to listen to music at all was like pulling teeth. Honest to God, there was an off and on period of about 6 months or so where I just did not listen to music at all. Old stuff, new stuff, I just didn't care. I had to do like a trial separation from music. And especially from music discourse. Like, ugh. It got to the point where even trying to listen to my favorite records just left me feeling numb inside. And you know, that's a really scary prospect when the almost entire focus of your channel is music-based, you know what I mean? If I'm being honest, it took the better part of the year to claw myself out of that hole I got in. And you know, I won't even come out here in front and say, all better now, but the fact is, I was not taking good care of myself, and I had to take some time to genuinely address that. No BS to all of y'all who've been patient with me in 2022, just sincerely, I do appreciate that. Though as a result, I do kinda need to warn y'all, just in trying not to burn myself out again, I actually didn't really listen to a lot of bad music in 2022. Or at the very least, I didn't purposefully seek it out. Honest to God, 9 times out of 10, if I heard bad buzz around an album, or if I just knew it was gonna eat, I straight up didn't waste my time. Y'all would not believe how therapeutic that was. I just decided to spare myself, you know? I didn't listen to everything this year. And as a result of purposefully dodging a lot of those ickier releases, I was actually afraid that I wasn't gonna have enough material to do a worst list. At least earlier in the year I was. Woo, yeah, that sure as hell didn't happen. Even purposefully trying to dodge a lot of bad music, I still encountered a fair amount of it. It was just a weird year, though, in both good and bad ways. I promise I never do this intentionally, but sometimes I'll go into a year and there'll be like a theme that unifies all the worst albums. Yeah, it happened again in 2022, and this one is a particularly bad theme, too. How the mighty have fallen. That's the thing. My best list this year is stupid rich with newer, budding, and lesser known artists, but 2022 was supposed to be a huge year where a lot of the best and brightest in the industry dropped some of their best work to date. There were a lot of albums that were supposed to score big, but either just didn't live up to sky-high expectations or were actively, genuinely really disappointing. And that's the thing, almost every artist on my list this year is someone who would have, well, if you didn't consider them great, you would have at least said they had potential at some point. I'm just trying to warn you, my 2022 worsties list, and even my besties list, it's gonna be a little weird this year, but it was a weird year. Just overall, 2022 was just weird. Let's get this started, shall we? Dishonorable mentions.
Sometimes I look in her eyes, and that's where I find my
Okay, look, I know Joji's material as a whole tends to be on the sleepy side, but this is bad even by his standards. This album is barely 24 minutes, but it feels more than double that. It's just tedious. His biggest problem is that he just can not get out of first gear. And on this album, he's actively moving in reverse. It doesn't even feel finished in a lot of places, particularly the back half where it just kind of farts around and pretends to be a trap album for 10 minutes. Why is this thing 2 parts? I mean, I don't know. Maybe he's afraid that if he steps on the gas too much, people will think he's trying to be Pink Guy again. A perfectly valid concern, I guess, but this is way too far in the opposite direction. His wimpy falsetto and his weird enunciation in places is actively starting to get on my nerves now, and it feels like, I don't know, this album feels obligated. It feels like Joji just felt like he had to fart something out. Or maybe his label made him do it, I don't know, but whatever this is, it feels more like a collection of demos than a proper record, and whatever the hell it was intended to be, it's just pure Ambien. Like, I barely have anything else to even say about this. Honest to God, TikTok found the only really good moment this record has, and even then I'd say it sounds better spliced with All Star. Again, just boring. I don't really have too much else to say about this one in particular. Another record that just refused to get out of first. Not that Interpol were ever the most peppy band or anything. It's not like I expect them to be Anthrax or anything, but man, this was a record I genuinely had better expectations for. I'm very casual when it comes to Interpol, just to be crystal clear, but I did catch some of the stuff from El Pintor and Marauder, and I liked them. This was a band I sought out actively in 2022, hoping to hear good things from. Instead, we got a 5 out of 10 national impression. There's also a weird contrast in the lyrics to the music. This album does get weirdly cheery and optimistic in places, more so than you're used to hearing from, like, Interpol. And, you know, it's not even like the band can't pull off that mood. I wouldn't even say it's not something they could never pull off. But against the backdrop of music this drab and lifeless, I'm sorry, for me it just didn't work. Maybe this was just more of a me preference kind of thing, but I'm sorry, this just really, really bored me. I was very unimpressed by this. I might chalk this one up, again, to me not actively seeking out a lot of bad music. I don't know, maybe if I'd spun that last Walker Hayes or that Noah Kahan record, maybe this spot would have gone to them instead. I don't know, like, I was really kind of relying on this record to kind of pick me up in 2022, and even though I can't say they didn't try necessarily, they really didn't succeed either. I'm sorry, this one was just an absolute snoozer.
Look at the shade of my eyes, and I won't pretend.
It's better than Who Am I, but it still isn't very good. This poor band. They're still trying to chase the Avril Lavigne early 2000s throwback sound. This one leans teensy bit more pop punk, I guess. Not really to a noticeable enough degree, though. I mean, it's basically Who Am I Part 2. While they did make improvements upon that album's sound, y'all, it's the idea as a whole. This is just not a sound that fits them. Their debut was this glittery, earnest bit of synth-soaked sad girl magic, and this, it's just like the 4th best Avril Lavigne impression I heard this year. And that includes Avril herself. Yeesh. I mean, especially in a post-Olivia Rodrigo world where a lot of pop starlets are purposefully throwing back to this kind of sound, for them to be so mediocre at it, it's just absolute death. I don't know, maybe they still felt obligated to change after the first record's reception, maybe their label's making them do it, I don't know, but whatever it is, this sound does not work on them. There's no future in it. And sadly, it looks like their label feels the same. They had a bus breakdown during their tour earlier this year, and the label, instead of just sending them a new bus, canceled the entire rest of the tour. I'm just saying, when your label doesn't even think you're worth the bus fare, that's pretty much it for you. I hate to see it too, because I genuinely thought this band had potential. I still enjoy that first record from time to time, but this... You know, I'm not even going to make a lame joke about, oh, Unwanted being a self-fulfilled prophecy. I'm not like cackling over this. This is just sad. You hate to see something like this happen to any band.
Holy fucking fuck. The body of yours is absurd. I do anything for it, that's my word. How you such...
They're still chasing that reggaeton dollar? It is so weird to see the Black Eyed Peas like this. If you were around for the Monkey Business and Elefunk days, you remember how gigantic and inescapable this band used to be. These guys played the Super Bowl, and now their new records don't even get Wikipedia entries. But like, if this is the garbo you're gonna put out, yeah, I get why. Another reggaeton record, another one. The terrible idea that everyone hated and sold poorly. Nah, fuck it, dude, let's double down. We will force ourselves into this market if we fucking have to. I guess I'm not offended that this thing exists. I'm just baffled as to why. And you know who I feel really bad for? Anyone who may still be a fan at this stage. Like, think of those people. You know they exist. Especially since Masters of the Sun was this kind of cool return to their more indie and political roots. I actually went back and listened to that one, and you know, it's not perfect, but it has a unique charm to it. Imagine hearing that record and thinking, oh hell yeah, we're gonna get the real Black Eyed Peas back, and then translation happens. Ow. But then you step back and you think, okay, the Black Eyed Peas are smart, that didn't work, there's no way they would ever do that again. Oh my god, it's even worse now!
I may need to see the booty make it twerk.
Man, it really is Elevation Part 2. You could argue it's even worse. The production is even more glassy and soulless. The sample choice is even more egregious. Even the lyrics are more tone-deaf and stupid. Like,
Seriously, fuck, that booty is superb.
that is a low bar for the Black Eyed Peas to go under, but credit where it's due, they cleared it. I don't know, this thing is just fucking ridiculous. There's nothing on this record you couldn't find on like an old CD of 90s dance hits done by a Spanish language cover band. And like, if they're going to insist on staying in this direction, I promise you it will be the thing that kills them stone dead. I can almost guarantee it. There's no way in hell this has a future. Eventually, they're gonna try to sample the goddamn Macarena and lay Rico Suave over it, and then that'll be it for them. Like, y'all. Look, I'm happy you're happy with it, okay? I'm not trying to poop on anybody's parade. I'm just saying, I think you deserve better, that's all. I reviewed this one earlier in the year with Mark over on Spectrum Pulse, and I was hoping it would eventually grow on me, but as the year went on, like... I mean, I can't say it's not devoid of charm or hooks, but this is just not a sound that fits them. I'm sorry, this is easily Ghost's worst record to date. I mean, this thing is just pure cheeseballs. Not that Ghost didn't always have a bit of a cheeseball side to them, I get it, but I mean, there was also like a genuine sense of gloom and foreboding with a lot of their music as well. They still are, for all intents and purposes, a metal band. People forget, but those early Ghost records, they had a bit of teeth, you know, they stung in places. But on this album, their bite was just completely removed. The production is straight up atrocious. I'm sorry, it sounds like it was mixed by a hair metal producer in the early 90s, and like the glam rock doofy prog vibe they're trying to capture here, it's like, not only do they not succeed, but I'm just baffled as to why you would want to try to do that. And that's the thing, when the music and the production don't meet the standard, Whoo boy, do the Faults in Tobias's lyrics really stick out. I'm sorry, 20s is one of the worst goddamn songs of the entire freaking year, and you cannot convince me otherwise. No shit from the Chulas, grab 'em by the hoo-has, Jesus Christ, Tobias. Again, I understand why some people like this, but this, to me, this is just such a huge step down from, like, Meliora. I'd say it's even a step down from Prequel. I honestly liked Prequel for how much silly fun it could be, but this is officially way too far in the goofball direction. You know, thankfully Ghost is a very eclectic band, and they've already said they're gonna change sound up again for the next record, so like, at least we know we're not gonna get another one of this, so that puts me at ease, but like, yeesh, please don't do this again, Ghost, I'm begging you. And there we go, Dishonorable Mentions all done. Again, it was a weird year, y'all, and this list is only gonna get weirder, so, let's put a weird little cap on this weird little year and get started with the worsties proper, eh? Number 10.
So many stars in me. Look at they calling me. See me, I need these dreams fast. Look at me, I need.
Ooh, this one hurts. I've gone on record as a pretty big Brockhampton fan, and yeah, they had a pretty damn good streak there. They were one of the bands that helped get me back into the genre, with their gorgeous beats, their sharp lyricism, and brilliant cohesion amongst the various members. It was like this gorgeous melting pot of sounds, themes, and ideas, the likes of which we hadn't really seen before in hip-hop, at least up to that point. But again, the theme of this year was how the mighty have fallen, and I mean, in my opinion, I'd say these guys just fell off a cliff after Roadrunner. And on their last couple of records especially, you can just tell these guys, they want out of their terrible record deal, they want to get away from each other, they just want out of everything that is Brockhampton. And on this album, you know, the frustration and the ire and the just wanting it all to be over with already, you really do feel it. Because it was intended, I think at least, as this like wonderful surprise for all their fans. For weeks they promoted The Family as their final record, and then, hey, surprise, this is actually our final record. What's up? Second helping. Enjoy, y'all. But first things first, I didn't want a second helping after The Family. Spoiler alert. But also, like, on top of the sort of dire nature of the album's themes itself, it's really just hard to listen to because of how boring it is. Like, everything on this feels either half-assed or purposefully rushed. In many places, again, unfinished. Even the performances, which even at Brockhampton's worst moments you could still argue for, a lot of them are just really phoned in and just kind of, again, you just feel the sense of not wanting to be there on this record, and it hurts. This, and The Family to a certain extent, just feels like a record no one actually wanted to make, but everyone had to for one reason or another. And it sucks that one of the best rap groups of the 2010s has to go out like this. It should have never come to this. Fuck you, RCA. Again, bad, but not in a way that's like funny or haha or hey, I can meme this for the internet. It's sad. Maybe I should have listened to more stupid shit. I would have had more Waka Waka Clown Shoes bullshit to just honk honk.
Number 9.
I've been a throw up the sex in a.
Oh, thank God. Okay, speaking of clown shoes, I hadn't actually really heard of Jack Harlow before his feature on Industry Baby, and when that song blew up, I actually really liked Jack's verse, so I figured, okay, you know what, I'll keep this guy in the back of my head, and I'll check him out the next time he drops a full length. I don't know, if he's got this much charm and charisma on this song, yeah, that might be enough to carry a whole album. I'm curious as to what he...
Pineapple juice, I give a sweet semen.
Oh dear. maybe it's just because I'm not as familiar with this guy's work, but is he this stupid all the time? I get that, like, being a doofus is kind of his shtick and all, but, like, this record, it's not like fun doofus vibes. You know what I mean? It's not the dude at the party wearing the Hawaiian shirt who brings the good weed. No, this is like sketchy doofus vibes, you know? It's the weasel-looking dude at the party who borrows your lighter and loses it and is inevitably gonna puke on someone's car before the night is finished. He's basically Post Malone without any of the fun. I can't say he doesn't have any talent. The album does honestly have its moments. It has one or two songs I did genuinely enjoy. As a whole, though, it just feels like Jack's priorities are all out of whack on this thing. It does not emphasize his strengths at all. It's clearly built around the singles and like one or two tracks that are just meant to like cause controversy and stir the pot and all that shit. Heyo, Dua Lipa. But apparently it worked, I guess, so the fuck do I know? Again, there's a handful of tracks that are at least okay, but my god, there's so much filler on this goddamn record. And Harlow's corny rhymes and mediocre beats are just not enough to carry a full 45 minutes. I mean, listen to some of this shit.
You know that the bread keep coming, Golden Corral, bitch. I'ma fuck the earrings off of you.
You know you the one that I'm gon' fuck with. I'ma have you cream filled on some donut shit.
Imagine this for 45 minutes, people. And the features on this thing, they're just baffling. They do nothing to help Jack out, and it almost feels like they took one look at the kind of album they were on and were just like, yeah, no, I'm not trying for this. Give me the paycheck. Fuck you. I mean, again, I want to emphasize, I don't think Jack is completely untalented. There is definitely potential here, and I could see him clawing out of this and doing better in the future. But wow, he really needs to figure out how to put his best foot forward and fast. This was his chance to make a gigantic first impression, and he really blew it. So this thing left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. And like, yeah, as a result of this, folks won't be nearly as generous next time. Homie, you're gonna need to get good and fast. Number 8.
Miss the sunshine in your eyes. Who said cow?
Can someone, anyone, please tell me why anyone gives a fuck about Oliver Tree? I have been following this guy since at least 2019, and like, that's the thing with his music. It feels like a joke I don't get, but even if I did get it, the joke would still suck. Someone please explain it to me. What is this guy's appeal? I've heard people make serious defenses of his music, but like, then you go and look up stuff like this. And this. Are y'all high? Can I have some of what you're smoking? Cause that must be good shit. What the fuck? And this record in particular, like, who is this for? This album is like someone trying to blend like country, rock, and like modern hip hop a bit, but said person has a sneering, snivelous contempt for all three genres, so it's just like, his horrible nasal singing and the way he enunciates words the same way I do when I make fun of Tom DeLonge.
Took me for a spin. We're riding around this carousel.
I cannot rev, I can't breathe. See, y'all get mad at me when I do it. I mean, I get it's supposed to be a joke, but is he being this bad on purpose? Or does he just not realize that even if it is a joke, it's torture to sit through 35 uninterrupted minutes of this shit? Listening to this record is like sitting through one of the bad Tim and Eric sketches. You know what I mean? Like, it's awkward and uncomfortable, and you don't know how you're supposed to feel. And like the whole time I'm watching it, all I'm thinking is, Jesus, please let this end. Please let this. I don't know what I'm supposed to feel, but all I feel is die. And the songwriting here, even if it's supposed to be bad on purpose, like, Jesus, it feels like the worst parts of Everlast mixed with the worst parts of Rivers Cuomo. The lyrics are trying to be all sad and melancholy, but A, he's just a bad songwriter in general and his basic lyricism is incompetent. But also B, it's compounded by the fact that he comes off as such a snide, sniveling little twerp that I genuinely can't tell if the incompetence is like on purpose as part of the joke, or if he's just being sincerely snide, like, ha, thing you like is bad, loser. Look at my loser mullet, my loser mustache. Isn't this funny? Rick and Morty, Rick and Morty, Rick and Morty, Rick and Morty, ha. Justin Roiland is God. At the end of the day, that is my major issue with this record as a whole. The vibes just feel absolutely poisoned. This is self-righteous wankery for people that spend way too much time in online music spaces and wouldn't even be able to exhale if they couldn't also scoff at normies while they were doing it. And like, I get it. It's a gimmick. It's all gimmick and zero substance on purpose. I get that. But like, what is the gimmick even supposed to be? Tell me what the gimmick is in a sentence or less. I don't think anyone can genuinely do that. Like, I dress like a Rugrats, pretend to like nu metal, and I'm just a screaming adult baby who makes bad jokes. Homie, that's not even original. That's just metal Reddit. Number 7. Y'all, I'm sorry, but this thing was corny. And again, like with the Peas, I'm just kind of baffled by their move to keep building off of, the other shitty record that wasn't very good. Okay, I know I was kinda in the minority with not liking tranquility-based Hotel and Casino. I get it, but like, y'all, I'm sorry, I'm just like genetically predisposed to hating lounge music. I hate that Ron Burgundy shit. But that sound at least made sense for that record. It had this big sci-fi, like, space casino concept behind it, so they gave that sound an environment in which it could work. As like a one-off, sure, I get it. But they kept going for this record, and this record has no concept to support it. It's just a random collection of songs about a random collection of bullshit, and like, y'all, this stuff sounds 10 times worse without a theme linking it all together. I'm sorry. This wannabe lounge singer, glittery ass, Burt Bacharach worship just does not serve the lyrics or themes going on at this record at all. And what makes it even worse is that the production took an absolute nosedive from the last record. I'm not even sure why. It was the same guy who did Tranquility Base, but for some reason, I don't know, all the orchestral stuff and the pianos, all of it sounds like muffled and assy. I had to go back and listen to that record and make sure, is it just me or is it just my headphones? No. Man, the production took a great big ass hit. And like, that's the thing with lounge music. If you want it to sound good, it has to have like that mirror sheen. You cannot skimp on the precision in the production. 'Cause when you do, while I saw other folks compare this thing to like Roxy music or Bowie's glitzier stuff, y'all, with this chintz bag production and the snide, piss-takey lyrics Alec Turner is usually pumping out there, it feels more like Father John Misty by way of the Austin Powers soundtrack. I mean, that's gotta be the worst part of the album, too. Just how seriously we're supposed to be taking it. Again, say what you want to about Tranquility Base, at least that record also kind of had a jokey, fun side to it. It was in on its own joke. Its tongue was pretty firmly in cheek. Here though, the tone is much more dour and serious. Like, these are supposed to be like songs, not like conceptual mood pieces or whatever. No, we're supposed to be feeling things on this record. And you're the Arctic freaking monkeys, lads. For y'all to go all serious on an album that sounds like I'm sorry, it is just a tonal shift I do not buy or can get behind in any way. In fact, it reminds me of another piece of media that was usually silly, but all of a sudden out of the blue just expected you to take it very, very seriously. And like, listening to this album is basically just like this. Is this the car?
Number 6.
Someone did me wrong, stole my favorite song. Yes, it really hurt.
Y'all, I think I'm done with Brendan Urie. For one thing, I hate just how poisoned discussion of Panic has become over the years. I mean, with multiple members now being accused of icky behavior and Brendan's never-ending shit show of drama. I mean, the guy always did have theater kid energy, but the more that comes to light about the guy, the more we realize just what kind of theater kid energy that was. And like, now that the music isn't even good, no, I'm out. I'm done. Like, wow, this is a particularly bad one too, y'all. Way worse than the last record. Did Brendan just like forget how to make a Panic record? Because this is not a Panic record. This sounds more like someone trying to copy a Queen or a Led Zeppelin record. But in doing so, they made something that would make Greta Van Fleet shake their heads. Like, he's surprisingly bad at the classic rock shtick. His voice is just not as versatile as Freddie or Roberts is. And for someone who prides themselves on their vocal prowess,
Who's gonna rock it till they win the fight? You're the only.
yeah, dude, I would have taken a few extra takes there. Recording live to tape is just death for someone as artificial as Urie is these days. Everything outside of the piano and Brendan's voice is mixed without punch or flourish, and you can't make like a 70s ass classic guitar rock album without great percussion, deep bass, and good sounding guitar. The guitar on this thing is ass. How dare you make a 70s ass guitar album with assy guitar? That's fucking Grand Funk Railroad shit, dude. Middle of a Breakup is trashy in like all the
Make-up sex in the middle of a breakup.
not nice ways, and like, y'all, just
The only one that knows how to operate my
heavy machinery. There's also just like a genuine cynicism to the writing on this record too. On stuff like Say It Louder, Brent is posturing and posing like it's supposed to be like a big "take that, haters" kind of thing, but it really comes off more as "I don't suck, I'm not bad, you're just jealous, you are jealous of me and all of my talent." Again, just like the worst kind of theater kid energy here. I fucking hate it. Brendan's charm has been officially depleted. Hell, he didn't really have much left to spend. The only real charm he had, ironically, was in his fakeness. He had at least a little inkling of self-awareness to him, like he at least felt in on his own joke, but he decided to dig deep and be sincere and show us what the real Brendan looks like on this album. And we all took one look at it and went, ew, fuck that guy. That guy sucks. That's who you really are. Fuck you, dude.
Number 5.
This this one hurts even more because this album is where all the real ugly pain and all the bile that the band has been dealing with for the past few years has been resting. For one thing, why the hell did they let Kevin Abstract carry almost the entire record? He takes lead on basically every track, and like, for a band for whom one of their greatest strengths is collaboration, that in and of itself is a giant red flag. And on top of that, it has basically all the same production and composition problems that TM has. Tracks feel unfinished and underwritten. The production is lackluster and full of holes, and it's just not a fun experience sonically. But really the thing that drives it home, for me at least, is that the lyrics on this thing. Oh, y'all, it's bleak. You know, it's not like TM is a particularly good mood either, but on that record, at least, the band is sad and tired and upset, but they're at least able to pull something together so they can just close the door on things. Like, they're kind of grinning and bearing it, but you can tell that they're at least grinning while they're bearing it. The Family? Oh, no grinning on this album. This album is bitter. This album is bitter as hell. Kevin's lyrics are absolutely cutting, and at times downright unkind to the other members of this band. He does try to turn things around by the end. The last few tracks are like, oh, I love you, bud. I love you, man. You the best. But like, I'm not buying it. So much of the rest of this album is about how much he hates being in the band with all these guys and how much they fight and how much he is just aching to get out of this record deal and his terrible contracts. Fuck the system. No, there are several moments on this album where you can tell he is aching for that solo record. Why hijack this moment from the rest of the other guys? Why did they even let Kevin run wild like this? That's what confuses me. Why did this happen? Was this a concession to him? Was this a way to just kind of cheat their RCA deal? I don't know, but you know, after hearing The Family, it does kind of make more sense why TM even came out. I can at least understand wanting to try to end on a better foot, because ending their career with The Family?
I feel free when I drink. You don't know shit about me. Y'all don't know shit about me. Y'all don't know shit about me.
Yikes.
Number 4.
Okay, people, sit down, have a seat. We need to talk. This is going to be an uncomfortable conversation, but I feel like we need to have it. Muse sucks now. I said you weren't gonna like it. I mean, y'all, I hate to be Mr. Pessimistic, but it's time to face facts. It's been over 8 years since Muse put out anything approaching decent, and for a lot of folks, that number is probably closer to a decade. I don't know why y'all hate the Second Law so much, but y'all, we need to face the cold hard facts here. Muse is just awful now. I didn't want to admit it at first either. I remember my initial review of Drones. I was straight up kidding myself. That album was bad, Simulation Theory was downright befuddling, and now we have Will of the People. This is like if Elon Musk were a record. For one thing, they're still utilizing a lot of the harsh synths and electronic soundscapes that everyone hated on Simulation Theory. This one isn't quite as dubsteppy as that one, but they absolutely tried to have their cake and eat it too here. I mean, they learned nothing from the last record. And it's full of all these politically driven themes. My fingers are up during that sentence because this album is about as political as my ass. I mean, okay, technically there is a left and a right, but in practice they both serve the same function. And the center is full of shit. There isn't an actual hard thesis or any real point they're trying to make. They're trying to do all these powerful statements that drive home fighting the system and not taking authority. But they're too chicken shit to elaborate on what their stances are or who the authority figures are that they're fighting, that can mean a lot of things in 2022, man. It's just a bunch of generic hoorah, we don't have to take it BS that doesn't actually mean anything, but is trying to sound so serious and so involved with itself. So they didn't learn anything from drones either. We are angry! We demand justice! And we demand our voices be heard! Oh, absolutely. Understandable. And what are some of the things you're trying to say? No! Like, that's it? Just... I mean, it sounds like ass. The central message is generic and weak sauce, and at times these lyrics are just downright awful too. This is almost as bad as when Theory of a Dead Man tried to go all political, and like, you guys really should know better than that. I mean, remember a long time ago, back when Glenn Beck tried to hijack Uprising? Yeah, that was a thing that actually happened. Like, that's the problem when you make political songs with super vague messaging. It means anyone can hijack what you say, even if you didn't mean for that to happen. So like, yeah, with this album too, as generic and meaningless as it is, I'd almost be worried that, you know, a new wave of right-wing dipshits or whoever could steal this and take it to mean something you don't want it to mean. But here's the thing, anyone using "we are fucking fucked" to promote anything? Yeah, pass.
Number 3.
This way I was raised, not by wolves but by Jews. I was gilded and hazed.
Oh, don't look at me like that. My curiosity got the better of me on this one. I did try to avoid stuff I knew was going to be bad this year, but this was an early December release. I was feeling a lot better from earlier in the year, and this is like NoFX's last album. Their very last record, y'all. I got nostalgic. I thought about all the good times I'd had with this band in high school and college, and I just said to myself, come on, Crash, how bad could it actually be? The answer to that, pretty fucking bad. I mean, like the last record, this thing is just so low effort. If you're gonna give this little of a fuck, why bother releasing a final album at all? Like, seriously, if you don't care, why the hell should any of us? It's one thing that Mike's voice is absolutely destroyed, but like, their will to try is also destroyed, so that just makes everything feel worse. Again, it's this obligation, almost. We have to make an album! No, the motherfuck you don't. And like, for real, this is some of the worst songwriting Mike's ever done. And I say that having listened to shit like Cokie the Clown. No, y'all, it's bad. The song Is It Too Soon If Time Is Relative is a giant shit take on Stephen Hawking. Stephen Hawk? He's been dead for 4 years. What did he do to you, homie? The song Don't Count on Me is just a bunch of complaining and BS and full-blown spiteful trolling. Like, literally, it's Mike just taking the piss and going, lol, snowflake, you don't like that I did this? Lol, you triggered. No, Mike, I'm not triggered. I'm disappointed. That's worse. And at 24 minutes, calling this thing a double album is a joke. Not even a joke, it's a dad pun. And ironically enough, that stupid little dad pun is probably the best joke on the entire album. Again, it's just another brilliant example of how the mighty have fallen. This band will always be a note in punk history, particularly 90s punk history, but the way they absolutely shit all over themselves in the last few decades will always reduce their influence down to a footnote. Some bands go off in a blaze of glory, some bands humbly bow out of the limelight. NoFX, they leave the business Like someone who clocks out 3 hours early from the worst job they've ever had, just like, fuck it, I'm out. I don't want to be, fuck it, fuck you all, fuck you, I'm gone, fuck you. Come to punk rock bowling, but like, fuck you.
Number 2.
Okay, this one may just be a me thing, but this is absolutely one of those cases where if you know, you know. In my opinion, Our Lady Peace was one of the best kept secrets of the 90s. Their run of albums from the mid to late 90s are some of the best uncovered gems in that era of alternative music. And it absolutely apexed with 2000's Spiritual Machines. A lush, colorful album with gorgeous melodies, some of the best lyrics this band was capable of writing, and a bold, beautiful vision of the future. It's an underappreciated classic that did not need a sequel. But Our Lady Peace, they have just fallen off a cliff since most of the classic lineup has exited. And now they're officially starting to crash through the sediments, they're falling so hard. For one, there is almost no need to even call this thing Spiritual Machines 2. It has almost nothing to do with the original Spiritual Machines. The first record had a loose concept concerning the future of mankind and what it meant to be human. But save for some token-ass callbacks here and there, this doesn't have anything to do with that. It's just the same boring, bland waffling they've been doing for over a decade now. Very few of the songs touch on any of the themes the original record had. The lead single is called Stop Making Stupid People Famous.
And we keep making stupid people famous, now we're paying for that.
Literal bumper sticker shit. And sure, they brought in Ray Kurzweil to do spoken word segments again, like with the first album, but they did that on Spiritual Machines 1 for a reason. That album's concept is based on his book, The Age of Spiritual Machines. The spoken word segments from that album are quotes from the actual text. But Ray didn't write An Age of Spiritual Machines 2, so well, now what do? They didn't seem to know either, because they just got him in here to just ramble some disconnected stuff off about like AI and machine learning and universal basic income. None of it is connected and none of it makes any sense. At least it did in the original, because again, they were working off of a text and an actual theme. This is just, I don't know, Ray, just what do you think is going to happen in the future? Stuff. Neat. Print it. Not to mention, the first record was largely the vision of their previous guitarist, Mike Turner, who left the band all the way back in 2001. Spiritual Machines was basically his baby. It feels like a real betrayal to Mike to just sloppily piggyback off of one of his ideas, especially since he hasn't been in the band for almost 20 years. Well, okay, to be completely fair, they do bring in Mike Turner to help with this record. They did get him in the studio and actually bring him on proper. For one song. No, let me rephrase that. For one minute long instrumental interlude track. Imagine if Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young got together to do one more record, but Neil's only contribution was to fart around on a synthesizer for 30 seconds. I mean, on its own, if you don't know any of this history, it's just a boring, meandering, tepid little piece of nothing with a 76-year-old guy rambling in between songs for some reason. It's boring and it's kind of a big play to nothing, but like, why should you care? Oh, y'all, I can make you care about this album. I promise I can get you to understand how fucky this is. See, here's the thing about this record. Technically, I shouldn't be including it here at all. It doesn't meet my criteria because, technically, this is a 2021 release. Yeah, this came out last year. Exclusively as an NFT. NFT! There it is! There it is! Oh, you feel it! You feel it now, don't you? Oh my goodness! NFTs! The wave of the future! I mean, they did release a normal people's version in early 2022, though, so fuck it. I'm reviewing the version that isn't for grifters and idiots. Y'all get it now, right? Imagine if any other band you loved did a trick like this. Imagine if Blink-182 did Self-Titled 2, or Foo Fighters did Color in the Shape 2. And then the only way you could hear it was to pay for it in overpriced fart coin dumb bucks. Stop making stupid people famous. Stop giving Our Lady Peace your money.
Number 1.
All I want is an emo girl.
I fell in love with an emo girl.
Okay, so this wasn't so much a listen as it was just rubbernecking. I mean, MGK is just a terrible performer. His fuck-awful singing voice and his barely competent guitar, drum, and bass arrangements. Oh, but that's punk rock, Crash. No, it isn't, Chief. Yes, some punk artists weren't the most proficient players, but most of them made up for that by packing their music with passion, aggression, or at the very least, fun. They may have sucked, but at least they cared. Absolutely no one cared about this goddamn thing. Travis Barker didn't give a fuck. I am officially sick of his production style. It was one of the only things saving the previous record, but on this one, it's clearly a paycheck gig. You can tell. Like, the vibe on this album is so much different. He should have taken a different approach to it, but all he did was Control-C, Control-V from tickets, put it in, collect my paycheck, get another dumb tattoo, I'm out. And Coulson obviously didn't give a fuck either, because man, his performances, they've gotten worse somehow. You'd think after having one record under his belt and getting a little bit of experience, that would help him kind of give him something to build off of. Nope, his chord patterns are even lazier. His delivery, most of the time he's not even in key, and like auto-tune can really only save so much. Like, I don't get the vibe that he's doing this to be countercultural and against the system. He's doing it because he doesn't give a fuck and he knows you'll buy it. And his songwriting on this thing, I think that has to be the worst part of this record. World War IV is literally not finished. Like, it's literally not done. The song just abruptly cuts out, and instead of, like, finishing it, he just has a spoken word bit where I was gonna finish this song, but nah, I don't wanna, lol. The lyrics in Emo Girl are the kind of plastic-ass Bratz doll bullshit that anyone who's listened to 2 Green Day albums in their life could smell as fake as a mile off. I feel bad comparing this to Bratz dolls. Like, that's not fair to the Bratz dolls.
I saw the limit and took it farther. I'm a genius, could have made Donda.
There is a lot wrong with that lyric, especially these days. And then there's the more depressing songs, like 5150 and Sid and Nancy. Sid and Nancy in particular. Yeah. See, I'm of two minds about this. Either these tracks are the one true glimpse we actually get inside MGK's head, and he is just genuinely this miserable, having to live his life like this just so he can maintain a career. Like, it's actually gotten to him, and this is the one little moment where he gets to be real with us. And like, if that's the case, then that's just really tragic and sad. But what's probably more true here is that this is as fake as everything else on the record, and he's banking on alternative and emo listeners' general tendency to be facing mental health issues and not always being in the best place. Like, he's literally just using your emotions and your pain and all the heartache you've felt to cash a paycheck. If that is the case, that's like 5 times more disgusting. But either way, I think we need to just call this album and MGK's entire punk turn for what it's been since day one. A grift. It's a grift. It's a hustle. It has been since the beginning. He was using the punk and emo scenes to rehabilitate his career, and now that he more or less has, he doesn't need you anymore. He hates it here. He hates having to pander to this audience, you. He hates having to kiss your ass, and he cannot wait to get back into hip-hop. Hell, he checked out halfway through this album. On the back half of this thing, he just gives up and goes back to a hip-hop sound that ironically sounds more trap than his usual hip-hop sound, which, oh no, homie, you cannot do trap. Oh, you're gonna go into trap next? I dare you to try trap. Like, MGK is a scumbag and his albums suck, but you know who I feel bad for here? The people who did genuinely get into this. Stick with me here, I don't mean any ill will when I say that. That was always one of the biggest defenses for MGK's entire sound shift. It was, he's helping younger audiences get into punk rock. And you know, I can't say that there aren't people out there who did genuinely get into the genre by being exposed to him first. And you know, even though MGK has left you hanging, and chances are he's gonna be that one artist that you look back on several years down the line and you were like, oh, I used to be into that. Oh, oh, wow, I really was into MGK. Oh, different times. I'm just saying, you know, brace for that, because you will grow out of this thing that MGK does. But let me just reassure you, it's alright. We all have bands and artists that, you know, we're maybe a little bit ashamed of. I know I definitely have more than a few. But you know, they did help introduce you to the genre, and you know, hopefully you found a lot of cooler stuff and a lot of more interesting stuff. If MGK did help you get into punk rock, no big deal, I'm happy for you. Hang on to the great bands, memories, and friends you made during that experience. No one can take that away from you. No matter what this doofus does next, no one can take those memories away from you. Not me, not him, not anybody. Have fun, like what you like, and, you know, just take it for what it is. All I would really recommend is that the next time some rambling doofus dyes his hair pink and tells you he's the legitest motherfucker in the room, just be a little more cautious next time. Just, that's all I'd say. But that's the worst list for this year. Thanks again for watching, y'all. I'm Crash Thompson, and I will catch y'all next year for the best list. Take care.